The city of Brookhaven was once a thriving metropolis, but now it stood as a graveyard of broken buildings and lifeless streets. Among the ruins, a small group of survivors moved cautiously, their weapons ready, their nerves on edge. At the center of this group were Ethan, Jake, Melissa, and Riley, four best friends who had grown up together, laughed together, and now fought together. They had promised each other that no matter what happened, they would stick together. That was before the world crumbled. Before trust became as fragile as glass. As they walked through an abandoned grocery store, scavenging for supplies, Ethan's flashlight flickered, revealing bloodstains on the floor. The air smelled of rot, and every creak of the shelves made their hearts pound. "Stay close," Jake muttered, gripping his baseball bat. Melissa found a half-empty bottle of water, and Riley stuffed a few canned goods into her backpack. But just as they were about to leave, a low growl echoed from the back of the store. Jake raised his bat, Melissa drew her knife, and Ethan aimed his revolver. From the darkness, a zombie lurched forward, its face half-eaten, eyes glazed over with hunger. More shadows moved behind it. "Run!" Ethan yelled. The group sprinted through the aisles, knocking over shelves in an attempt to slow the undead. As they burst out of the store, they barely had time to slam the doors shut before the zombies crashed against the glass. Breathing heavily, Melissa turned to the others. "We can't keep doing this. We need somewhere safe." "There's an old warehouse near the docks," Riley suggested. "I heard a radio transmission, some survivors might be holed up there." Ethan nodded. "Then that's where we're going." But as they left, no one noticed Jake's troubled expression. They traveled through the ruined city, avoiding the undead as best as they could. But food was running low, and tensions were high. Jake started arguing more, questioning Ethan's leadership. "Who put you in charge?" he snapped when Ethan suggested a longer but safer route. Ethan narrowed his eyes. "The last thing we need is a stupid fight. We stick to the plan." But Jake had a secret, one that could shatter everything. That night, as they set up camp inside an abandoned diner, Jake pulled Riley aside. "We don't need them," he whispered. "Just you and me, we can make it." Riley hesitated. They were all best friends. Could she really betray Ethan and Melissa? She didn't have an answer, yet. The journey to the warehouse near the docks was tense. Every shadow felt like a lurking threat, and the silence was deafening. Ethan led the way, his revolver clutched tightly. Melissa stayed close behind, gripping her knife, while Jake and Riley lagged slightly, their whispered conversations growing more frequent. Ethan noticed. Something was off with Jake. Finally, they reached the warehouse. It was a massive, rusted structure, its windows shattered, its doors barely holding. The sign above it read Pier 17 Storage, but it might as well have said Last Hope. "Stay quiet," Ethan instructed, slowly pushing the door open. Inside, the warehouse was dark, but not empty. A dozen figures stood inside, some holding weapons, others tending to small fires. Their eyes snapped toward the newcomers, suspicious and alert. "Lower your weapons," a tall man with a scar on his cheek ordered. "You're not the first to show up here, but you better have something to offer." Ethan hesitated, then lowered his gun. "We just need shelter." "We can help, we know how to fight." The man smirked. "Then maybe you can be useful. But let's get something straight, we're not a charity. You want to stay, you contribute." Melissa looked around. The people here looked just as desperate as they were. Jake, however, had a different thought brewing. The growing rift. As they settled in, Ethan and Melissa tried to blend in and earn their keep. They helped organize supplies, reinforce barricades, and stand guard at night. But Jake? He was talking. Whispering. To the wrong people. Riley caught him one night, speaking to the scarred leader, Lucas. "What are you doing?" she hissed. Jake turned, eyes dark. "You think this place is safe? You think these people care about us?" He glanced around before leaning in. "We can take what we need and leave. We don't need Ethan and Melissa anymore." Riley's stomach twisted. They were supposed to be best friends. Jake wasn't finished. We can make a deal, Riley. Lucas likes me, he's willing to let us stay, but not them. Riley clenched her fists. This wasn't right. But Jake's words were in her head now. Did she really trust Ethan and Melissa to keep them alive? And if it came down to a choice, whose side would she take? The betrayal begins. That night, Ethan woke up to the sound of movement. A door closing. He grabbed his gun and nudged Melissa awake. Something's wrong. They slipped out of their sleeping area and followed the sound. In the dim torchlight, they saw Jake handing over their weapons to Lucas. Melissa's breath caught. No. Ethan's grip tightened on his gun. Jake, what the hell are you doing? Jake turned, face unreadable. Making sure I survive. Before Ethan could react, Lucas' men surrounded them. The betrayal had begun. Ethan and Melissa stood frozen, their eyes darting between Jake and the armed men surrounding them. Lucas smirked, holding their weapons like trophies. Smart move, kid, Lucas said, clapping Jake on the shoulder. You chose the winning side. Melissa's heart pounded. Jake, their best friend, had turned on them. Ethan clenched his fists. You betrayed us. Jake's face was stone cold. It's survival, Ethan. You don't see it, but we were never going to last. You're weak. Melissa's weak. Riley and I? We actually have a chance. Ethan's knuckles turned white around his remaining knife. Melissa shook her head. Jake, please. Take them away, Lucas ordered. Before Ethan or Melissa could react, two of Lucas' men grabbed them, yanking their arms behind their backs. Jake, don't do this. Melissa pleaded. But Jake didn't even look at her. Imprisoned. Ethan and Melissa were thrown into a locked storage cage at the back of the warehouse. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of old rust and damp metal filled their nostrils. Ethan kicked the bars. We have to get out of here. Melissa sat against the wall, shaken. How could Jake do this? Ethan didn't answer. He was already thinking 10 steps ahead. That's when the door creaked open again. Riley stepped inside, alone. She knelt beside the cage. Her face was full of conflict. I didn't know he was going to do this, she whispered. I thought he just wanted us to be safe. Ethan's jaw tightened. And now? Do you still think we should trust him? Riley's hands trembled. No. Melissa grabbed the bars. Then help us. Riley hesitated. If she did, she'd be turning against Jake. But when she saw how broken Ethan and Melissa looked, she knew what she had to do. She nodded. I'll come back when it's safe. Then she was gone. Ethan leaned back against the wall. If we get out of this, Jake's dead to me. Melissa said nothing. Deep down, she wasn't sure if she could ever bring herself to hurt him. But she knew one thing, if Jake had truly turned on them, he had to pay. Jake's fatal mistake. Meanwhile, Jake sat with Lucas and his crew, drinking from a stolen bottle of whiskey. Lucas grinned. You made the right choice, kid. Trust doesn't mean a damn thing in this world anymore. Jake nodded, but something in his gut felt wrong. Maybe it was how cold Lucas was. Maybe it was how Riley had barely spoken to him since the betrayal. Or maybe it was because he had seen the look in Ethan's eyes, a look that promised revenge. Jake pushed the thought aside. This was survival. Then Lucas turned to him. Tomorrow morning, we get rid of them. Jake's blood ran cold. What? You think I'm stupid? Lucas chuckled. If we let them go, they'll come back. If we keep them, they'll try to escape. Jake swallowed hard. You never said anything about killing them. Lucas leaned forward. Did you really think they'd live after you turn on them? Jake's hands trembled. He stopped himself. They were my friends. Lucas smirked. Not anymore. Jake felt sick. Had he made a mistake? But it was too late now. The night was silent, except for the occasional groans of zombies outside the warehouse. Inside the locked storage cage, Ethan and Melissa sat in tense silence, their minds racing. They had only a few hours left before Lucas carried out his order, before they would be executed. And Jake? He was nowhere to be seen. Riley will come back, Melissa whispered, though her voice lacked confidence. Ethan exhaled sharply. We can't wait for her. We need a plan. Melissa bit her lip, then spotted a rusted metal pipe on the floor, just within reach. If we can pry these bars loose. Ethan's eyes lit up with determination. We better be quick. Riley's decision. Meanwhile, Riley paced in the shadows, her heart pounding. She had two choices. Help Ethan and Melissa escape, betraying Jake. Stay silent, letting them die. She had spent years surviving with them. She owed them everything. But Jake. She found him sitting alone, his face pale, staring at his hands like they were stained with blood. You didn't think they were actually gonna kill them, did you? Riley's voice was barely above a whisper. Jake didn't look at her. I thought Lucas would let them go. Riley scoffed. You sold them out, and now you're surprised? Jake clenched his fists. I didn't want this. Riley stepped closer, her voice urgent. Then help me fix it. Jake hesitated, his mind a battlefield. He had chosen survival over friendship, but was this really survival? Riley grabbed his arm. I'm saving them with or without you. Jake finally met her gaze. And for the first time since his betrayal, he made his choice. Let's go. The escape begins. Back in the cage, Ethan had managed to loosen the bars, but they weren't free yet. Then, footsteps approached. Melissa tensed. If that's Lucas, we're dead. The door creaked open, and two figures slipped inside. Riley and Jake. Ethan's stomach twisted with rage at the sight of Jake, but before he could say anything, Riley hurriedly unlocked the cage. Melissa stepped out first, but Ethan didn't move. He stared straight at Jake. You think you can just walk in here and undo what you did? His voice was cold, his hands balled into fists. Jake looked down, guilt shadowing his face. I know I screwed up. Ethan's blood boiled. He wanted to punch him, to make him pay, but there was no time. Melissa grabbed his arm. Ethan. Later. Right now, we run. Gritting his teeth, Ethan finally nodded. Fine. But this wasn't over. The chase. The four of them moved silently through the warehouse, avoiding the guards. But as they reached the exit, a flashlight beam swept across them. Hey! They're escaping. Chaos erupted. Gunshots rang out. Ethan and Melissa sprinted ahead, dodging behind crates as bullets shattered the wood. Jake and Riley ducked low, returning fire with stolen weapons. Lucas' voice boomed across the warehouse. You think you can betray me, Jake? Jake's blood turned ice cold. Riley yanked him forward. Move! But before they could reach the exit, a group of zombies slammed against the warehouse doors. The noise had drawn them. Dozens of them. Lucas' men froze for a split second. That was all Ethan needed. Run! Jake, Riley, Melissa, and Ethan burst through a side door, just as the zombies flooded inside. Screams erupted behind them. Lucas and his gang were too busy fighting the undead to chase them. But this wasn't over. The group ran through the empty streets, their breaths ragged, their bodies aching. The sounds of gunfire and zombie growls echoed from the warehouse behind them, but they didn't look back. Ethan's mind was racing. They had escaped, but at what cost? Lucas wasn't dead. And he would come after them. After what felt like hours, they finally stopped in an abandoned auto repair shop, barricading the doors with rusted toolboxes and broken furniture. Jake leaned against the wall, catching his breath. We made it. Ethan whirled on him. We made it. His voice was low and dangerous. You mean after you betrayed us? After you handed us over to a bunch of killers? Jake flinched, but before he could answer, Ethan swung. His fist collided with Jake's jaw, sending him stumbling backward. Riley shouted, stepping between them. "Ethan, stop!" But Ethan wasn't done. He grabbed Jake by the shirt and shoved him against the wall. His rage had been boiling for too long. "You left us to die," Ethan snarled. "And now you think we're just gonna forget that?" Jake's eyes burned with guilt. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought Lucas would protect us." Melissa's voice was cold. "You were wrong." Jake swallowed hard. "I know. I screwed up. But I came back, didn't I?" Ethan's grip tightened. "Only because you realized Lucas was gonna kill you too." Jake didn't deny it. Ethan's fingertips burned to throw another punch. But what would that fix? He let go, shoving Jake away. "You're dead to me." Jake looked away, saying nothing. For the first time since the apocalypse began, the group felt truly broken. Nowhere left to run. Hours passed. Tensions remained high. Melissa sat quietly, sharpening her knife. Riley kept glancing between Ethan and Jake, anxiety clear on her face. Jake sat in the corner, silent. No one spoke. Then, a noise outside. Footsteps. Multiple. Ethan held up a hand. Everyone froze. A voice, cold and familiar, echoed outside. "Come on out, kids. You didn't really think you could run from me, did you?" Lucas. Ethan's heart pounded. How had he found them so fast? Melissa peeked through a crack in the barricade. Her face paled. "He's got at least 5 guys with him." Riley swallowed hard. "We can't fight them." Ethan's mind raced. They had 3 options. Fight, but they were outnumbered. Run, but there was nowhere to go. Surrender, but that meant death. Jake stood up, fists clenched. "We end this." Ethan looked at him, disgusted. "Now you grow a backbone?" Jake ignored him. "Lucas won't stop. He'll hunt us forever. If we don't kill him now, we're already dead." "For once." Ethan agreed. He turned to the others. "We set a trap." Melissa and Riley nodded. It was time to end this. The air inside the auto repair shop was thick with tension. Lucas and his men were outside, waiting for them to make a move. Ethan gripped his knife tightly. "We don't have the numbers, but we have the advantage." Melissa nodded. "We make them come inside, control the battlefield." Riley loaded her pistol. "And then?" Ethan's eyes darkened. "We finish this." Jake stood at the edge of the group. He knew no one trusted him anymore. But this was his last chance, to prove he wasn't a traitor. "Let me be the bait," Jake said. Ethan scoffed. "Why the hell would we trust you?" Jake's jaw tightened. "Because I'm the only one Lucas still thinks he can manipulate." Melissa exchanged a glance with Ethan. She didn't trust Jake either, but he had a point. "Fine," Ethan said. "But if you screw us over again..." "You won't have to kill me," Jake interrupted. "Lucas will do it for you." No one argued. The ambush. Jake stepped outside, hands raised in surrender. Lucas smirked, his gun pointed at Jake's chest. "Smart choice, kid. Guess you finally realized where you belong." Jake forced a fake smile. "Yeah, something like that." Lucas gestured to his men. "Search the building. If the others are in there, drag them out." The moment his men stepped inside, the trap was sprung. Melissa and Riley attacked from the shadows, taking down 2 of Lucas' men before they even realized what was happening. Ethan leapt from behind a car, slamming a wrench into another man's skull. Bone cracked. Blood sprayed. The remaining 2 guards fumbled for their guns, but Ethan and Melissa were faster. Within seconds, the only ones left were Lucas and Jake. Lucas' smirk faded as he realized he had been played. "You think you're clever, huh?" he growled. Ethan stepped forward, gun raised. "Clever enough to end you." But Lucas was fast, too fast. Before Ethan could pull the trigger, Lucas lunged at Jake, wrapping an arm around his neck and pressing a pistol to his temple. Jake froze, his breath sharp. "Drop your weapons," Lucas ordered. "Or your little friend here dies." Ethan hesitated. Melissa and Riley did too. For a long, tense moment, no one moved. Then, Jake made his choice. The ultimate sacrifice. Jake let out a harsh laugh. "You really think they care about me, Lucas?" Lucas' grip tightened. "What the hell are you talking about?" Jake's eyes met Ethan's, full of regret, but also determination. "Goodbye, guys," he whispered. Then, Jake grabbed Lucas' wrist and twisted hard. The gun went off, but Jake didn't stop. He slammed his elbow into Lucas' ribs, forcing him backward. Ethan saw his chance. He fired. The bullet hit Lucas in the chest. The crime lord staggered, his gun clattering to the ground. Melissa and Riley rushed forward, but it was too late. Lucas, with his last breath, pulled a knife and buried it into Jake's stomach. Jake gasped, eyes wide in shock. Lucas collapsed, dead. But Jake fell with him. Melissa screamed. Riley ran to him, pressing a hand against his wound. "Jake, stay with us." Ethan stood frozen. Jake had saved them. But he was dying. Jake's breathing shuddered. "Guess I finally made the right choice, huh?" Ethan dropped to his knees. "You didn't have to do that, man." Jake let out a weak chuckle. "Yeah, I did." His eyes fluttered. His body went still. Jake was gone. Jake's body lay still on the cold pavement, his blood pooling beneath him. The others stood in stunned silence. The man who betrayed them had also saved them. Melissa covered her mouth, her chest tight with grief. Riley's hands trembled as she slowly pulled Jake's eyes shut. I can't believe he's gone." Ethan, however, felt nothing but exhaustion. He stared down at Jake's lifeless form, fists clenched. "He made his choice," Ethan said finally, his voice hollow. Melissa whirled on him. "That's all you have to say?" "He died saving us." Ethan's jaw tightened. "After selling us out first." "Don't forget that." Riley snapped. "He tried to fix it. He gave his life for us." Ethan sighed, running a blood-stained hand through his hair. "It doesn't matter anymore. We can argue all night, but we have bigger problems." Because in the distance, they heard them. The undead were coming. The horde approaches. The gunfire from the warehouse had drawn them in. From the shadows of the ruined city, zombies shuffled forward, dozens of them. Riley swallowed hard. "We have to go. Now." Melissa looked back at Jake's body. She couldn't leave him here to be eaten. "We have to bury him," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "We don't have time." But Melissa had already dropped to her knees, digging into the dirt with her bare hands. Ethan cursed under his breath, then yanked open a nearby toolbox, grabbing a small shovel. "Fine. Fast." Together, they dug a shallow grave, their hands moving as quickly as possible. The growls were getting closer. When the grave was deep enough, they rolled Jake's body inside. Melissa wiped her eyes. I don't know what to say." Ethan exhaled. "Nothing to say. He did what he did. That's all." Riley glared at him. "You're a real bastard, you know that?" Ethan didn't answer. Maybe he was. But they had no time for feelings. Because the first zombie lurched into view. Fight or flight. Riley fired first, her pistol's crack echoing through the street. The bullet hit the zombie's skull, dropping it instantly. But more were coming. Too many. "We need a way out," Melissa shouted. Ethan scanned the street, his mind racing. That's when he saw it, an old truck, rusted but still intact, just a few feet away. He ran to it, wrenching the door open. Keys were still in the ignition. "Get in," he yelled. Melissa and Riley dove inside, slamming the door shut. Ethan turned the key. The engine roared to life. Zombies lunged toward the truck, their decayed hands slamming against the windows. Ethan slammed the gas pedal, the tires screeching as they peeled away. Zombies tumbled under the wheels, their bones snapping. Melissa sat in the passenger seat, breathing hard. Where are we even going? Ethan's hands gripped the steering wheel. Somewhere safe. If that even exists anymore. Riley stared out the window, watching as the city of the dead faded into the night behind them. They had survived Lucas. They had lost Jake. But the fight wasn't over yet. Because in a world like this, no one was ever truly safe. The truck rumbled down the broken highway, its headlights cutting through the thick darkness. Inside, no one spoke. Melissa stared out the window, eyes hollow. Jake was gone. Riley tapped her fingers against her leg, stealing glances at Ethan. She knew he was keeping it together for their sake, but deep down, he was just as lost as they were. Then, in the distance, a sign. "Welcome to Haven, the last safe zone." Melissa sat up. Oh my God, a safe zone. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Could be a trap. Riley exhaled. Or it could be our only chance. They had no choice. A new hope, or another nightmare. The gates of Haven were tall, reinforced with metal, guarded by armed men on the walls. As the truck rolled up, a spotlight beamed down on them. "Stop right there," a voice barked. Ethan killed the engine, raising his hands. "We're not infected. Just looking for shelter." A man with a scarred face leaned over the wall, eyes sharp. "Drop your weapons. No one comes unarmed." Melissa and Riley hesitated. Ethan frowned but nodded. They had to play by the rules, for now. They stepped out, dropping their guns. The gates creaked open. And just like that, they were inside. Too good to be true. Haven was unlike anything they had seen before: farms, clean water, actual houses. People living like the world hadn't ended. A woman named Dr. Harris introduced herself. She ran Haven. "You'll be safe here," she assured them. Melissa let out a breath of relief. Maybe, for the first time in forever, they could actually stop running. But Ethan wasn't convinced. Something felt off. The dark truth. That night, while the others slept, Ethan explored. And that's when he found it. A locked room. Bloodstains on the floor. Muffled cries from inside. His stomach turned to ice. Before he could react, a gun cocked behind his head. "Should have just enjoyed the safety, kid." Ethan turned slowly, face to face with Dr. Harris. "I knew you'd be trouble," she said coldly. "Survivors like you never settle down." Ethan's jaw clenched. "What are you hiding?" Dr. Harris smirked. "Haven isn't a safe zone. It's a farm." His heart pounded. A farm for what? Her smile widened. "For feeding the undead." Betrayed again. Ethan lunged, but guards tackled him, slamming him to the ground. Dr. Harris sighed. "Put him with the others. We'll deal with him later." Ethan struggled, but it was useless. The guards dragged him toward a holding cell, and that's when he saw them. Melissa and Riley. Already captured. Melissa's face was pale with terror. "Ethan, what's happening?" Ethan clenched his fists. They had walked right into another death trap. And this time, there was no Jake to save them. The final stand. But Ethan wasn't about to die here. As the guards threw him into the cell, he whispered to Melissa and Riley. "When they come back, we fight." Melissa nodded. She wasn't dying like this. Riley tightened her jaw. "Let's end this." Moments later, the guards returned, weapons ready. Ethan moved first. He slammed into one of them, grabbing his knife and driving it into his throat. Melissa and Riley fought back too, using every ounce of strength they had. Gunshots echoed. Blood sprayed the walls. By the time it was over, the guards were dead. And Ethan stood there, breathing hard, covered in blood. Dr. Harris was nowhere to be seen. "Come on," Ethan growled. "We're burning this place to the ground." The escape, and the end. The three of them stormed through Haven, setting fire to buildings, releasing prisoners. Chaos erupted. Dr. Harris tried to run, but Melissa put a bullet in her back. By the time the sun rose, Haven was nothing but ashes. Ethan, Melissa, and Riley stood on the road once more, the world stretching out before them. They had no home, no safe place. But they had survived. And that was enough. For now. The end.